Oh, we're live. It says we're live. I'm busy sitting here putting on my earbuds. I don't know why, because I'm all alone. So what am I listening to? Funny thing, it's weird. Paul knows this. I see Paul Hurt in the chat. He'll understand. It's weird doing the show if I can't hear myself. Something John and I talked about years ago because I tried to get him to do it, but he wouldn't do it. Why am I hearing myself in a weird way here? Is that wrong? Is that wrong? Can you? Oh, I bet you. Here's the other thing. The odd. Oh, here we go. Rodecaster chat. Rodecaster Pro chat. Nope, that's right. Does everybody hear me? Is the audio going out? This is weird. Maybe my headphones are bad. This is the early on banter that you guys are getting here. There it is. Oh boy, now the volume's way up. The connection for the headphones was bad. See, with no Steve and no setup time, the early banter you get is just me. So, and yeah, I took a look at the chat about a minute ago before I got on here. I said we'd be on time because I figured what could slow me down? It's just me. Well, there you go. Me. I'll slow me down. So everybody ready for this? For anybody that hasn't been paying attention or didn't see on Twitter or earlier, you're just tuning in. This is just me today. Steve came down with a bit of the man flu, as he calls it. And let me put the show comments on stage. There we go. Let's get those going. So he canceled it just like literally earlier today. He's been sick all week. Definitely couldn't have made Tuesday's show, obviously. So we moved it to Thursday, and it looked good for a while, and then his voice is shot, and he's just didn't want to be. Steve's a bit of a perfectionist, if you haven't noticed, and he just didn't want to be coughing and wheezing and everything like that, trying to get through the show. So I was like, all right, what do we do? And I'm like, you know what? I got a question. I got an idea for a show. So I figured I'd go it alone and just talk to you guys in the chat. And yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. How does that sound? Crickets, of course. That's what's weird. This is gonna be weird. This is gonna be fun though. This is gonna be fun. The chat looks like chat's going good. I saw early on, because I put the question out there a little while ago, and I saw some comments to it, and we'll scroll back to that in a minute, and we'll get to that. So we might as well just get to it, and I can only do so much banter on my own, so I might as well just.
We are Brightside Theater.
Hey, home theater nerds, welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast, a multi-award-winning, giving and receiving home theater podcast. It's all about the experiences, the sights,
the sounds,
the scenes.
Yeah, it's like we're all here, but we're not. So, yep, all about the experiences. And we'll get to, just put it out there right now. Today's question that I came up with that I was thinking about is it's literally about the main experience, home theater, which it is. It's all about the experiences. But building your home theater, is it good to plan it or is it not good to plan it? Having a plan for it. And it's I had a whole bunch of ideas on it. I was like, it kind of came to me as like what we get. It can be good, it can be bad. How are people going to come down on it? And I wanted to put it out to you guys, and then we could discuss it because I have my ideas on it, both negative and positive. And I think it'll be good too for early home theater enthusiast to hear about. So yeah, I got a bunch of ideas, and I'm sure you guys do too. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so all other experiences, like, and don't get me wrong, there's a reason that movie's on behind me right now. We'll get to that. Maybe I will never get to that tangent, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Maybe. But all other experiences, and Steve and I have a few. Steve has a bunch, and I've got a few myself already. It's been a crazy week for content. I've enjoyed all of my content this week, it's all been, I'll just tease it for next week, but it's all been like crazy stories, stuff that you're like, how do people think of this stuff? Crazy twists, and great acting, great home theater stuff. One's an oldie I mentioned last week, if you were watching the show that I watched, which has some incredible audio that I forgot was so good. So we got that for next week. But those are the experiences that we use to gauge our system, right? To tell, like, after all the work is done setting up the system, we talk about, the sights, the sounds, and the scenes. Well, this week we're going to talk about, are you ever there? Are you ever done? Something Travis and I have talked about before when Travis was on the show. And I think a lot of home theater people want to get to that part where you are done, right? Where people think, I just want to get there. I just want to have a great home theater and just be able to relax and sit down and just watch content and, like, just turnkey theater and be done. Okay. No, and I can say with like the utmost confidence of this community, there's nobody, there can't be anybody listening to me ever that thinks that way, because that's not a home theater enthusiast. That's somebody that has a home theater and just watches movies, but they're not a home theater enthusiast. Home theater enthusiast is somebody that is like into the home theater part, right? It's like, just because you go to the movies doesn't make you a movie critic. It means you like to go to the movies, you enjoy movies, but you're not a movie critic. Home theater enthusiast is like, you can pay all the money and I've seen these theaters, people can have all the money in the world, they pay for a theater, doesn't make them a home theater enthusiast. It just means they have a home theater. So I'm talking about the home theater enthusiast that's constantly worried, is this the best possible version? Is this the best possible that I can have? And we're never there. So how do you get there? Is it good to have a plan? Is it good to have a plan when you're starting out? Is it good to have a plan on how do you get the best possible? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So that's what I thought we'd talk about for a while. And let's see where the tangents go with the chat and everything like that. So let's get to the chat and say hi to everybody in the chat. So the other day, we had a bunch of comments in here that still showed up from the other day. Paul Hurt was in the other day. Steve I believe he was in the other day, but let me see who else was in the other day. Steve Att. Okay, I'm back. All right. Let's see. Well, that's good. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. I scroll myself through here. Let's see. Just scrolling. Somehow I'm scrolling the chat and it moved the page. So how I dropped out, I don't know. Let's see. So, all right, let's go back to where I was. We'll start with today, where I opened up and it looked like, was that earlier today? Let's see, Jay. All right, there I am. So right after I talked about the question for today, we had Jay Van Gool popped into the chat. Steve Atts in the chat. Michael Piantidosi says, hi, guys. He also asked, Michael also asked, anyone see the copy of the Grayon in 4K? I have not, but I'm sure people have asked. Jay Van Gool, let's see, who else has been in here? Paul Hurt. I said, yep. Jay said they talked for a bit. Let me see. Let's, who else, Michael? Oh, that's it so far. Oh, Marcus Beebe in the chat popped in. Steven Van Gool. Dominic. Dominic is in the chat. Hi, all. Let's see. We're starting to get closer to showtime. Blind Guy saying hello. Hey, Blind Guy. Yep. And Jay Van Gool, we lost DJ for a second. Yes, you did. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But it's nice to say that even though I'm the only one here, we don't lose everybody. You don't lose the whole chat. You don't lose the whole stream. So there's no one to, yeah. Paul Hurt, just realize if your connection goes down, there's no one to fill. Yeah, I know. That's new. Exactly. So, yeah. So let me scroll back. Oh yeah. See Big. Sorry. Didn't say, I just scrolled out, just saw See Big in there. So if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. It's just trying to get all this and be very careful not to drop out of my own chat here. So yeah, so let me see what people said right away after the question. You could, so Jay Van Gool came in with the question, do you start with, is it a good idea or a bad idea to have a plan? And Jay Van Gool says, you can start with speakers and a receiver that can do more speakers, then can do more speakers. Oh, I'm sorry, that can do more speakers, then when you want to upgrade over time. Like most people, it is a year-to-year upgrade when new things come out. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what else. See if anybody else had. Yeah, Paul Hurt. I probably do more planning than watching. That's one of the disadvantages. But with a house build and another that I'm refurbishing, I'm pretty much planning all day anyway. It's a blur. Paul, I can appreciate that. Paul also says, if it's your first theater, I'd say keep it simple, limit how much custom stuff you can do, make a start and have fun with it. You can plan the next one after you make your mistakes on the first one. Yep. That's getting along the lines. So let's see. So yeah. So if anybody that's a cute little system. Blah, blah, blah. So anybody has any comments, I'll start reading, we'll get up to speed here. If I'm done with this now. And then there's Steve. There he is. Cheers, guys. Hey, buddy. Hope you're feeling good. I should say, hope you're feeling okay. Yeah. That's what I'm going to sound like at the end of this. Yep. Marcus, go live. Just go live. That's what I'm doing. That's what I did. So here we are. All right. The idea, all right, plans versus no plans. All right. So let's start with the good. Like, why do you want plan? What's the good part of having a plan for your theater? And gives you direction, gives you an idea, right? Gives you goals, order, a purpose, right? Like you don't want to be, you start to plan it out and you're like, you see like, well, I can't do this before I do that. It's like, you're not going to start running speaker wire before you know where all your speakers are going to go or how many speakers you have. So you start with that idea, but then so that helps you, really, make an order of how things should go. But then it's like, well, what about the room? I got to plan the room. Oh, okay. So I have to have a plan for that. So all of that gives you some direction, goals, order, gives you purpose and gives you drive, right? Because if you have a plan, you have, a full plan from beginning to end. And you look at that end and you're like, all right, I can't wait to get there. That's awesome. That's your dream. That's okay. Here's what I want. And this is what I'm going to do. So we can all agree that that's a great idea. Here's where the problem comes in with that though. And I've taken these questions over the years and when I say, maybe it's not so good to stick to a plan or to even have a plan because I can come at it from a direction of maybe no plan. Like I want a theater, but what do I got to do? And if you start with your end game and you come up with like, okay, this is what I want for a theater. And then you backtrack from there, what happens? Well, I've had a lot of listeners, even back in my chat days when people knew I had a home theater show and John and I would do in chat, people would write in and people would be like, well, I can't, I had this one listener He was on a Takeover Tuesday as well. One listener that was like, he got stuck, analysis paralysis. He had this idea for a theater and he had a plan, he had a room up, but he sat on it for like a year, if not longer, because he didn't know it's just so daunting. That plan can actually slow you down because you just stare at the plan going, it's a lot of work. What am I going to do? And so the plan can actually freeze everything, right? Analysis paralysis. You start second guessing. Is this a good idea? Am I going to be able to afford this? Is it too much? Is it that? It's like, this is impossible. Things start becoming it's a non-starter, right? So like how many times have you guys all listening, people have seen your theater. Oh, this is awesome. I would love something like people come into your theater. I'd love this. The first question, how much? Well, to something like this, you start listening. Oh, never mind. Non-starter. Well, that's the plan, right? That budget is the first part of the plan most people look at. If you took that away, if you take that part of the plan away, they might be exactly where you are in a couple of years because they didn't see the plan. They didn't see the end game. They didn't see how much it was going to cost. If people told me when I was 18 years old and started doing this, that over the years, you're going to spend upwards of $200,000, you'd be like, oh, I can't do that. And if over the last 30 to 40 years, if you think about it, it's almost 40 years now since John and I started, I could easily see $200,000 I've spent over 40 years on this hobby. That's a lot of money. It's like, and you'd be like, oh, TJ, I'll do the math for you sometime. I bet you it comes out to pretty damn close, if not more, maybe. But if somebody told you that, you'd be like, oh, I'm not doing that. I got better things to do with my money. And you're like, okay, well, how much are you going to spend? How much do people spend? How much have we spent on like alcohol and beers over those many years? Probably not $200,000, but a lot if you put it that way. But stuff like that, it's like there's things that can scare the crap out of you if you see the plan, if you see the whole plan. I can't even stop the way I'm saying it and hear it in my head when I say plan, because I keep referencing in my head Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight going, if it goes according to plan, everything's okay. But once you step outside of it, it's like not according to the plan. That's what this stuff can do. It can actually, I got to stay on the plan. That's what can be bad about a plan. There's good reasons to have a plan, but the plan itself can actually crush the entire thing. Let's see, what do we got here so far? So we got Mikey Schramm. Mike dropping in. He said earlier, just like the old days here, he says, I think that expecting Endgame right off the bat isn't the best idea for most of us. We need to plan on the process, not where we hope to eventually end up someday. It's like we rehearsed this, Mikey and I. It's like, I swear to God, I haven't talked to Mikey personally in quite a while, other than here in the chat. I already have this in my notes. Okay. So we're never getting there. Right. So I'll put Mikey's comment back up. Expecting Endgame right off the bat isn't the best idea for most of us. I don't think it's a good idea for any of us because you're never at the end game. Okay. Well, you'll never get there. And this is the conversation Travis and I had. Think about it, right? So you have an idea for a theater and you could say money's no object, right? But it's still our brains right now. You win the lottery and you have no money's not an issue. So it's just your brain and what theater you can build. Whatever you design, I guarantee that when you're done designing it, by the time that theater is done, there will have been changes. You will have changed. I don't care if if that theater took a week to do, a month, a year, doesn't matter. By the time that theater is done, you will have already changed it. So you're never getting to the end game because technology is going to change. You're going to see something else in the process that you're going to be like, wait a minute, that gives me another idea. You're going to change. Things could change. You personally are going to be like, you know what? Blue isn't my favorite color anymore. I'm going to go with like green on the trim now. I don't know. Things are going to change. You're never getting to that end game. And because when you get there, everything will have been different anyways. And I think if you were to stick to that plan and adhere to it so strictly, you're going to feel like you're failing. Even though that you're like, I'm upgrading, I'm doing this, I'm changing these things. It's like you're working towards a dream, but there's a reality involved. And it's like you never get to the dream because you're always in that reality, right? So like budget does come into play for all of us. It's so that is a part of the reality. By the time you get to the plan, it's like, oh my God, like look at me on my house. It's like week one, it's like, okay, 90 grand extra because you got all these rocks. That wasn't part of the plan. Things are going to change. You got to adjust. You got to do all of these things. So if you have that plan and you adhere to it so strictly, what happens? Where do you go from there? It makes it hard because you think, in my head, I'm thinking, because I had a plan, I feel secure, right? Like you see, it's like, okay, here's the path. If I'm going to drive from here to California and I got a roadmap and I know I got to go this way, I feel good. I can make it. Here's the directions. I can get there. One detour that's not on the map, now I'm sick to my stomach. I had a plan, and the plan went out the window as soon as I had to turn left at Albuquerque. As a deep cut. Not really home theater, though. So you see what I mean? So it's like plans can be good, but if you adhere to it, you're in trouble. Yeah, here we go. Again, yeah, JSKMWK. There is no end game. Gear keeps improving. Yep. Absolutely. We know that going in the rabbit hole. Exactly. That's Michael Piantiadosi saying a rabbit hole. And it's like, even the idea of a rabbit hole to me sounds like gives it a negative connotation when it's not really a rabbit hole. It's literally the evolution, right? It's what happened. It is just what it is. Jay Van Gool, could you ever max out your room with the gear you buy? I don't think so. Even money, no object. I don't think so, because especially if you're a home theater enthusiast, how do you max out your room? Because, and I'll give you an example. What if you you did all these things right, you did everything right, and it's all installed? Well, what aspect ratio did you do? Did you do full-way masking? Okay, let's assume you did full-way masking, and it's huge. So now you can have any aspect ratio you want. How big is the screen? How bright is the screen? Well, money was no object. Now all of a sudden you still got money. Money's no object. You're, multi-billionaire. Eventually you're going to be like, I could have gone bigger. I could have gone, why don't I do this? Wait a minute. I have multiple listeners with multiple rooms. Okay. So how could one room get maxed out when I know people that have multiple rooms so they can experience stuff in different scenarios? So how could you max that out? Because it's, you gotta, and this, I went over this with, Nick at SVS when I think I was on their show, their, happy hour. And one of the things I said was, and it gets to the line of the idea of, could you ever max out your room with the gear you buy? Well, now you're confining yourself to the room and what home theater is. And what I said to Nick is, home theater isn't about the gear. It's not about the movies. It's not like what makes a home theater a home theater. And it had nothing to do with the gear. It had nothing to do with the movies, the amount of speakers you have or anything like that. It has to do with enthusiast in his brain. What is he picturing when he's in that room, right? So you can have a sound bar and a screen, and that's it. You just upgraded from your TV speakers to your sound bar, but that's the best you can do right now, and you're on your way. That's a home theater because you think it is. So in answer to the question, could you ever max out the room with the gear you buy? don't ask about the room. Could you ever max out the ideas in your head? That's where that home theater comes from. That's where the passion for home theater comes from. It's not about the gear you buy. It's about what do you want to do? And are you ever going to get to that place where you just go, I'm done? And that's where I'd say everybody listening to this and everybody paying attention from in this community, I'd say no, because what do we didn't get here because we had the lottery ticket. We didn't get here because it just had the house had a theater when you bought it. You got here because you wanted a home theater and you didn't know how to do it, and you couldn't afford certain things, so you made up some other stuff, and you planned everything to get what you could, the most of it. But SWEP 1199, planning the theater is the best part. It's a good point. It is. Don't get stuck there. It is the best part, though, because that's where the passion comes in. That's where you get excited. That's where it's like, okay, that's where all possibilities are there, right? You're all excited about it, and you're like, oh my God, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. I'm still there, and I'm going to do this, and but this is going to be great. Then reality sets in. All right, I can't do this, but I got to try and do it this way. And that is where the plan can really bring you down. Where is it a failure because you couldn't do what you were imagining, what you were dreaming, right? Whereas, and this is where bringing back up that question again from SW, is planning the theater is the best part. And I go back to John and I starting out in the 80s, there was no plan. There wasn't anything. It's like we had, was it Roger Ebert talking about, multi-millionaires, which back then would be considered, that's billionaires today, or movie stars, and you'd see screening rooms and stuff. That was the closest we could come, but there wasn't anything. There was no internet, obviously. And home theater was like, it was non-existent. It literally was fantasy land, non-existent. You had mentioned, it's tough to get people to understand what it is today. Back then, it was next to impossible. Laserdisc, forget about it. People were like, that's stupid. That was before CD, and they were like, well, you're talking about Laserdisc. What do you need that for? So we weren't hampered by being told we were wrong. Okay. So like we had an idea in our head, and it was like, I just want that box at the front of the room, which was probably like a 20-inch TV or whatever, with a single speaker on it. We wanted a little more than that, right? Star Wars came on to HBO, and it was just called HBO back then. It wasn't HBO Max or anything like that. So it came on HBO, and we wanted to hear it the way we think we heard it, because we were 10 or we were 7 when it came out. Star Wars came out in the theaters. We wanted to hear what we thought we heard, right? So we duplicated it by adding 2 more speakers. Or like I did, I added a bunch of speakers around the room. It was all mono, so it was all channels driven, but it sounded amazing to me, and it sounded better than a single speaker, and nobody told us we were wrong. There was nobody to tell us we were wrong. We were just flying by the seat of our pants to the point that I almost blew up my room. There was smoke pouring out of it because I wired everything wrong. And we learned on our own because we didn't have a plan. But that was part of the fun. It was an idea. It wasn't a plan. There was no end game. I didn't know how I was going to get. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know how to refine it. I didn't even know what refinement meant for this stuff. And that was the fun of it, right? I think now, like SW saying, planning the theater is the best part. It can be, absolutely. Because there's so many options out there for you to see what you want. It is weird to come, and I imagine, I can't even imagine what it's like for people now to understand what I'm saying when I say, like, there was no idea. It was an idea in our heads, and we made it up as we went along. I'm not saying we invented home theater by any stretch. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is home theater existed, but the information wasn't there. So you had to make it up. And then once you got the knowledge and started reading more, you'd be like, oh, almost every great idea I've ever had, I thought I was a genius. And then you find out later, you'd be like, oh my God, this has been around for 40 years. But I know in my heart, I came to it on my own. And then you're like, oh my God, the wheel? Oh, okay, I gotcha. I thought round things were easy to move. But that's what home theater was like. It's like we did, oh, this doesn't sound right. No, oh, that's supposed to sound like it goes across the screen. Oh, that's what stereo does. Oh, okay. It's not just the loud noises in the car. Okay, I gotcha. So we figured out so much stuff because we were so ignorant in a good way. And we had a blast with that. We didn't have a plan because we didn't know there could be a plan for stuff like this. And it enabled us to learn by trial and error, which really made it a lot of fun and really enabled us to experience it in a way that you really can, without feeling like you're failing. Whereas today, what do you mean you don't know what a SPL meter is? What are you talking about? You haven't done that? Or like even John with running Odyssey EQ and never loading it in. It's like, you know why he's comfortable enough to come on here and talk about that? It's because we've made so many other mistakes that we're like, I think that's bad. You should see what else I did. It's like, we don't care. And it's like, that's how you learn. And we also want to tell you guys so that people are like, oh yeah, I've done that. Yeah. And be comfortable with it. That's where Brightside came from. Really. It was like there were so many movies we liked that everybody was saying they didn't like. So we wanted to be able to have people go, oh great, I like it too. Only to come to find out, I come on here and I'll say, oh my God, I hate Home Alone. And people are like, thank you. The whole world thinks it's should have won an Oscar. And I think it's horrible. Just like him. Great. Thanks. And you get that. But we had none of that when it comes to building our theater. Nobody was telling us we were doing a good job. Nobody was telling us we were doing a bad job. We were on our own. And then, and John and I were literally talking to each other, and it's not like we talked every day, like, what'd you do? It's just like every so often we bring up, oh, you're doing that too. We actually accidentally found out we were doing it at the same time. And then once I did, and he was working at Radio Shack, well, then it really took off. So let's see, what else do we got in the chat here before I keep, because I could just keep on going. Yeah. So, all right. So we have like that. I would love to go, Steve Att saying, I'd love to go to a bigger TV than a 77-inch, but not happening unless there's a TV failure or accident. Quote, accident. I get that. And see that? It's like, I need something to take. The plan is to keep the TV. Whoops. Something happened. Takes you out of the plan. Happy accident. Let's see, Paul saying, even if you have an unlimited budget, there's always another step up. Even if there isn't, just wait 6 months, have a realistic target and enjoy it for a while. Exactly. The one pushback I would have on that, have a realistic target and enjoy it for a while. Why have a realistic one? A lot of us started out without a realistic target. It was unrealistic to think that you could do this, right? I say it all the time on the show. It's like the idea. I love the idea of home theater is that we're putting something in a place that it shouldn't be in. Most people would tell us this is unrealistic, right? The idea of having a home theater in a home or in a room is unrealistic. How many people have told me it's unrealistic, DJ? You're not listening at reference level. You can't do that. I am doing it. And it's like, it is possible. And here's how. And then people didn't believe me. And then people would come and hear it in the room and go, oh no, he's listening at reference level and it's good. You can do it. Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it can't be done. Just means you haven't seen it done. So that's why it's like, don't just have realistic goals, have dreams, have crazy dreams. Don't be disappointed when those dreams don't become a reality right away. Right? Like talking to Chris Deering at CEDIA and being like, coming out of that Christie demonstration with that, what was it? $500,000 projector that gets deep blacks, looks like an OLED. It's insane. And I'm like, this is in our future 10 years from now. And Chris is like, right away, I'm saying, he's like, no, Deej, you can't do that. Can't be duplicated. He's like, it's got it's separate cooling system. It's not scalable. You can't bring that down. Even when the technology gets better, you can't bring that down to a simple thing. He's saying that. That was in September at CEDIA. Then he's here on the show. We're talking during the 25-hour show. Same guy, Chris. And he's like, well, I'm sure they could get close to it someday. There you go. You're dreaming, right? You're dreaming. Somebody will come up with the technology. Somebody will come up with a way to try and duplicate that. So there's nothing wrong with dreaming and having unrealistic goals as long as you don't adhere to them so tightly that you feel like you failed. So, let's see. Who else we got? It's impossible. So Michael's saying again, it's impossible to keep up with the technology. Yeah. And that's their job, right? That's the idea for the companies. They want it to make it that way. They want to keep us on our toes because that's how they get our money, right? How do you keep up with the technology? It's like, why would you want to keep up with the technology? They're trying, look at the video game world. Games for a while were pushing the processing, and this going back to the 90s. I remember the conversations were like games needed more power so that they could really show off what the games could do. But the processing, companies coming out with the processors, they couldn't keep up with the technology there. And then it kind of supersedes. Now, all of a sudden we got all this processing power, but the gaming companies aren't utilizing the power that's there. So that's a back and forth. And us as the consumers are trying to get them to do this stuff. Like it's the same in the home theater world. OLEDs are pushing black levels to the point that look at the detail, look at this. That's telling the projector market, like, why would you go with the projector? You're losing all that detail. Well, why would you go with an OLED? You're losing all that size. It's like all of this. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, well, you could get this. You're only losing a little bit of detail in the black levels. Oh, yeah. But now all of a sudden the TVs are getting bigger. They're going back and forth. Not only are us, the consumers or the enthusiasts, having trouble keeping up, the companies are having trouble keeping up, and they're trying to keep up with each other, and but what if somebody had a plan, right? Okay, this is what we're going to, what if, a projector company is like, this is what we're going to roll out. Here's our plan. Here's our 5-year plan. And then another company rolls out something that, oh no. So now that company is looking at, are they going to say they're a failure? Because I'm not saying don't have a plan, but are they a failure because all of a sudden they have to deviate from their 5-year plan on, oh, this is the technology we were going to roll out? That's why everything's so proprietary. That's why don't let this out. Don't let anybody find out, because if somebody finds out and they ruin it, it's gonna hurt us. Now we got to come up with a new plan. Oh boy. So let's see. Steve, let's see what this. I don't even know what some of these are saying. My Steve at in the chat saying my modest equipment serves me well. I could afford to upgrade, but I don't see or hear the value. Brought up in a middle-class household, those habits die hard. So that's a great point there too, Steve. It's not a bad habit, right? And we're all looking for it. You don't see or hear the value, right? So it's like your modest equipment serves you well. You could afford to upgrade, but why bother? Because that little percentage doesn't, the little percentage of an upgrade doesn't warrant it upgrading, because the budget, yes, you could afford to do it, but your budget isn't so crazy that it is insurmountable, if that makes sense. Like, so imagine you had double the money, right? I don't know what you have for a budget, Steve, right? But imagine you had double the budget. Well, then maybe you do more of an upgrade, because it would be a different percentage of an upgrade in price. You see what I mean? So it's like, it's all relative, right? So like if you have untold money, doesn't matter if you started middle class, lower class growing up, and you have this mentality in your head, the penalty of it being a mistake is less detrimental to you the more money you have. So that's what makes it like easier. All right, I'll take the risk. it might be only a 1% increase, but I could take the risk because it's not going to bother me. Right. So that's where that budget comes into play, and it could, but you love everything you're seeing and hearing right now. So why would you waste the money? And that's the problem the manufacturers are having right now, because how do they get that money from you? Not just you, but any of us. How do we get more money out of this home theater market? Because the enthusiast, and we talked about this a little while, I think, did John and I talk about this? Or maybe it was a private conversation, I don't know. But the enthusiast market is like the hardest market right now. And I think it has to do with the fact that there's nothing really there for us to Steve's point, is there's nothing really there to entice us to let go of our money. Right. So we've had 4K for a while. There haven't been any huge increases in performance for 4K. We've had HDR for a while. Not, if you have great HDR system from 10 years ago is a great HDR system today. Atmos, object base, pretty much the same. Everything, all the processing is there. Yes, Denon, Marantz they've improved their processors slightly, but if you bought a new Denon or a Marantz receiver now, as opposed to one from 10 years ago, you're gonna be like, okay, now channels being equal. Okay. I'm not saying like going from upgrading from like 11 channels to 15 channels or something like that. It's a modest increase, a little bit of an increase, because you already spent the money. I'm saying going even, like when I went from my Onkyo to a Denon, that processing was a huge difference. One had Odyssey, the other didn't. Odyssey was a huge difference. Yeah, there's going to be an increase now with the new Denons and the new Marantzes that come in with the rack or something. Do you find that? See how they're trying to get you to get something more? They're like, you don't have that with this one. Here's something more. But is that big of a deal? Is it that big of a jump to go from one to the other? And it's like, as Steve says, a lot of the market saying, no, mine's performing fine. Same in the projector world. It's, in the display world, it's like, we've got this is great. How much better can it get? All right, the black levels are getting a little bit better here, but is it that much of it? It's a lot of money to upgrade now. Is it that much of a difference? And it's really not like when we went from, standard definition to the ultimate jump was to high definition. And then high definition to 4K, which had HDR, there is a jump there. And you're like, I need that. But if you think back then, what did we need it for? I started doing 4K, but I didn't have a 4K display. But early on, they figured out if we're going to give them Atmos, people love the sound, we're only going to put it on the 4K discs. When Atmos first came out, it was coming out on Blu-rays too. All of them. You could buy a Blu, and then all of a sudden you started to see, oh, you're just getting, 5.1 on the Blu-ray. The 4K discs had the Atmos on it. But what was nice is you could have a 4K player, play those 4K discs onto a 1080 display, still get your Atmos, and it would just down convert the 4K. So you were all set. So there you go. We've got that. But now, what have we had since then that equals Atmos or equals going to 4K HDR? We haven't had an upgrade in technology since then. So it's making it harder for us to part with our money, because there's no, as Steve said, there's no real big reason to jump. Let's see. What do we got here? Ellie, who does? Hello all. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining in. Let's see what else. What do we got for? Okay, so Jay Van Gool, I just did a firmware upgrade on my TCL TV with a USB drive, and it made a difference. Well, that's free. That's good. That's nice. Let's see. What was I saying? Let's see. Michael, again, we're always saying how much more enjoyable a movie is at home as opposed to at the theater. Why keep spending money? Enjoy what you have. Trying to think. What do you mean by that, Michael? Like stop your theater evolving because you already are beating out the big theaters? Is that what you're trying to say? I'm not arguing. I'm just trying to, before I comment on that, I could go a couple of ways with that. Before I comment on that, I'm wondering what you're saying there. Like, meaning like, we've already beat the theaters, so stop. And it's, or not stop, but it's not a bad idea. You're not doing a bad deal by stopping. Oh, Rachel's in the chat. Hey, Rachel. SWP. Hi, Rachel. There we go. Oh, Darth Brockstar. Hey, Steve. No. John Brock. Let's see. What does he say? I started with Endgame, but was planning it for 15 years. Yes. You and I talked about that. You and I talked about that a while ago. And that's where you can get into that analysis paralysis. It's like, until you have that, like, all right, I'm planning it. This is what I want. And it's like, okay, now this is what I want. And then, all right, well, this, and now you don't have one, right? And you still haven't had one for years. John, you were one of the people I was thinking of. I had one listener that he was like, what do I do? What do I do? And I said, put up a display, sit on a bucket, and build around you in the bucket. And then put your speakers in, paint your wall, put your walls up, do what you want to do. And that's exactly what he did. And the reason I got that idea is because that's exactly what I did. It's like, once I got my display, I put a bucket in and I watched a movie. I didn't even have sound in the room yet. And I just watched a movie on a big screen because it was the first time I had 65-inch. This was back in 2002, January 2002. I was so excited to watch it. And I sat on a 5-gallon bucket and already had the stadium seating in there, sat there and just watched a movie. And when I first got when I put my speakers in, which was only a couple days later, put the speakers up, I watched with a buddy of mine, now 2 buckets, I watched Fast and the Furious, and just sat on a bucket, and you're like, oh my God, this is a dedicated theater and I'm on a bucket, and you just build around it, right? As opposed to, if you wait until everything's done, if you wait until everything's perfect, you're probably never going to get it, because you're just going to be like, all right, I got to get this, and then I got to get this, and you're just, I'll put it off. If you jump in there and start enjoying it, that motivates you. You sit there and go, oh, this is going to be great when there's paint on the walls, or this is going to be great when there's walls, or, or the ceiling. Ceiling would really improve this place. There's so many things, but you're sitting there enjoying it, So, let's see. What's it? Oh, yeah. I lost it here. He didn't finish it. So Michael's saying, when you see a movie at the theater and you're thinking to yourself, comma, I need the rest of the thought, Michael. There you go. So this one, Eli Diaz, saying, this year I project to do acoustic treatment in my TV room. That'll be fun. I think you're really going to enjoy that. That was one of the biggest upgrades I did way back when, you were barely hearing about that stuff, like what acoustic treatments could do. And I'm going back like literally 2001 when I built my first, my last dedicated theater. And you put your first reflections up, I put them over the top, and then you add in some room treatments and stuff like that. And you hear that echo in the room. And all the way through the 90s, I had a living room theater, so there was no way I'm putting up room treatments and stuff. And there wasn't a ton of echoes because it was a living room, and so there's big, couches and pillows and stuff. But in a dedicated theater, basically I had the same couches, but it was a little smaller of a room. You had a better shot at echo. And as you add more and more room treatments, that's a great learning experience. You add a bunch, you would take some away, you add in diffusion, you see if that works. And honestly, in my opinion, you can listen to or listen to all the advice by the experts. It's best to experience that for yourself in your room. Just like anything else, it's like the experts can give you a plan on what would be right, in your room. And then you might hear it, and that's like somebody telling you which is the right speaker for you in your room, right? So like, this is the perfect speaker for your room. Well, no, speakers need the room and then your ears interpret it. So, which is the right combination for your ears? It's not about the room. It's not about the speakers. It's how do the speakers interact with the room and what do you hear? That's where the opinion comes from, if it's good or not. So, you can get the ideas from people, but then do it in your room and then see what you like about it. I've been in rooms that were echoey and people loved it. I've been in rooms that had way too much bass and people loved it. I'm not telling them they're wrong, but the only way I would tell somebody it was wrong is if they love the bass, but then like, and I'm talking bloated bass, like they're like boom, 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 like a Honda Civic going by on the highway. If it sounds like that and they love it, that's great. But then all of a sudden they're like, now how do I get my dialogue to sound cleaner? Lower that bass. And it's like, but I love my bass. Well, you can't have both because one's going to drown out the other. That resonance from your bass is it's hurting your ability to cleanly understand the dialogue. You clean up that bass with room treatments and you dial it down a bit, and then you're going to get that punchy bass and you're going to hear your dialogue better. It's not going to sound as, a lot of that has to do with the plan. What did they have for a plan? I want my bass to sound like boom, 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 boom. That's their plan. All right, that's great. But that plan is not going to work if your plan also includes nice, clean dialogue and nice, clean room pans and clean higher end and all this stuff. So there's the balance there. It's like you have to adjust your plan. Let's see. What are we saying? Let's see. Rachel's like, I just want a dedicated place for a cinema room. Yep. That's a big, big part of it, right? Everybody is like, that's the hardest part. That is the hardest part. We went through that. John and I were talking back when I was selling my house, and the people didn't want the room. And they're telling me it's not a home theater if it doesn't have the gear in it. And John's sitting there going, I'm telling him and I commiserating about it or whatever. And John's like, do you know how many people would beg for a room like that? Like a home theater person? Don't tell me. That is literally the hardest part to get. Everything else, you just go to Walmart, you could go to Best Buy and start out. You could grab a couple of carriages and load up on everything you need for a great home theater. Where's the room? If you don't have the room for it, and that's the trick. That's the biggest piece. And that's the hardest piece of the plan, right? It's like, I have a plan for a home theater. I got this great plan. And like I said, back when I was shopping around for houses, I'd drive down the road and I could see the structure of the house. And all right, how's that basement going to be laid out? And that's the plan. That's the foundation for your room is the room. If you don't have that, like Rachel said, I just want a room. That's John's thing. I just want a room. I need a dedicated room. I want a dedicated room. All right. Well, you don't have one. Does your plan go kaputs? Or do you put it in your living room? That's the idea. So it's good to have a plan. It's good to dream. Someday you'll get that dedicated room. Maybe not. Don't miss out on today just because you can't achieve what your dream is. Let's see, what else do we have? Let's see. Oh, this should be a good one. I like this. The movie comes always first for me. This is from SWEP 1199 in the chat. You could see a good movie with average equipment, but a bad movie won't get better with the won't get better with the best hardware. So true. Okay. So the movie comes first. So what SW is saying, I think here is you're only as strong as your weakest link for your experience in a theater. And the movie is the first piece, right? That needs to be strong, because if it's not, if it's a weak link, no amount of gear is going to improve that. True. I mean, we're talking really bad. We're really, really bad. Because Moonfall is bad. With the right gear, you're watching that over and over, right? So it really depends. Oh, See, I got to figure out how to keep this going. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. It really depends on how bad we're talking here, right? And obviously movie, that's also very subjective because different movies like, Evil Dead Rise, that's a bad movie. I'm not watching that over and over, and it's a great home theater movie. So that kind of lends more towards what SW is saying. No amount of gear is going to make that better for me. I admit it's great as a home theater experience, but I can't watch that over and over. Trying to think of a movie. I don't know. I kind of fall both ways on that. That's kind of weird. Because, just saying Evil Dead Rise, but it is kind of what we do. It's like everything comes down to the gear. Not the gear, I'm sorry. Comes down to the movie. We're doing all of this for the content. So it really does come down to that. So I guess that's, I guess if you look at it that way, then it's like, that's 100% correct to everybody. Now, what's good to everybody is going to be different, right? So different. And I've had people complain, people write in and say, is that all you talk about is action movies and comic book movies and blah, blah, blah. Why don't you talk about this, this, and this? And I was like, well, it is a home theater forum. And, Beaches isn't really selling the gear for me. And then, I'm kind of into the whole experience. Not that I don't think Beaches is a good movie, but it's not really one that you're going to sit in here and be like, yeah, you got to see this in a home theater. It's, subjectively to me, that's not exactly a home theater movie. So I get, it's just how that is. It's like, action movies, comic book movies, even comedies. All the years I've been in home theater, it's like a good comedy comes on. I don't rush to my theater. I'm watching Dumb and Dumber in the living room. It comes across the screen. I'm going to finish watching it. I'm not running downstairs to finish it. But I come across, Star Wars, and I'm like, okay, there it is. And it could be halfway through the movie. I'm like, yeah, I got to go downstairs. And you don't start where you just left off. You just start over, right? It just triggers that. I got time. I'm going to go watch that. So that's where like a home theater can, it's going to enhance the great movie, great movies. No, it can't save an awful movie. But that's the same as anything. Putting nice tires on a Prius doesn't make it a Ferrari. Let's see. What else we got now? Yeah. Barnes and Noble? Really? I didn't know that. Jay Van Gool. Now people go to Barnes and Noble to get movies. I don't care where they get them. I don't think anybody cares where they get them. As long as they can get them. Let's see. Yep. Rachel saying, yep, I'm just going to put it in my living room, Deej. Yep. That's where we all start out. Well, I started out in my bedroom. Let's see. Me too. That's good. John Brock saying Power Rangers movie is stupid and not my thing, but so good as an HT experience. But how many times are you watching it? Dom. Evil Dead Rise is amazing. Damn it. Watch the language, Dom. Jay Van Gool, I enjoy Power Rangers more than most. Let's see. All right, here's a Eli Hudias says, I personally give up on physical media and move my library to iTunes. So yeah, I miss the quality, but for me is okay. It's not a bad compromise, Eli. Not a bad compromise at all. And it's advice I give a lot of people just starting out. If you're just starting out in home theater, and I've said this to my son-in-law, I said it to Rich Keefe when he started out, even maybe 5 years ago with the Dragon's Lair. It was like, you start with physical media now, and that collection's going to grow and grow and grow. And by the time you get up to something like what Steve has, where what has he got, 1,600 titles? The physical the streaming market or streaming media is going to have caught up by then. It's not a bad idea to start, if you're just starting out, just to stay with iTunes. Because to be honest with you, it's so good right now that the only way you know that it isn't is by doing the A/B test yourself, right? The streaming content now is so good that when you A/B it, yeah, you could see a difference, but again, it's that 1 or 2% here or there. And that's that part of at the beginning, it's like if your plan is to have the best possible version of everything, then it's going to cost you money. And is it worth it? Back to whoever said it earlier, it's just not, I think it was Steve Att was like, it's just not worth it. It's not worth the upgrade because the money and the finality of it too. It's not something that's gonna last forever, right? Everybody keeps talking about 4K and being like, see, this is mine, 4K. They can never take this away from me. Nope. But they can make something better, make you want to get rid of it. They're not going to take it from you. They're going to turn it into a coaster because they'll make something better. I got pie plates that look, they're called laser discs. I could serve dinner on one because it's obsolete, right? But at the time, they can't take this from me. This is great. HBO existed then. I didn't need that. I didn't need to get my content. I didn't need to have a laser disc. DVD, you can't take this from me. Streaming was kind of starting, maybe. But you could still get it on cable. You could still watch the whole movie. They had on demand. They had all this stuff. This is mine. Oh, wait. What's Blu-ray? Oh, yeah, that's yours. There's a big stack I got a bunch of stacks of crap that's mine that they didn't take from me that I wish they would. So, but if you go with streaming, they might be able to take a title here or there away from you. Like all of a sudden a title's up. So we're unloading that title. And it's usually like, Bucky Comes Home. Who's that? Oh, he's an ex-baseball player story that nobody ever watched. Okay. Is he stealing home or is he going home to see his mom? I don't remember, but you're just pissed they took it out of your library. What? Okay. And it's like, they don't take the big stuff away, but you have something on iTunes and they upgrade it, it's probably for free. Same with Kaleidoscape. They're not taking my stuff away. I mean, if the whole platform goes down, yeah, that's the equivalent to Laserdiscs being obsolete. Okay, that might happen, could happen, has happened to me in the past. It's a risk. iTunes could get shut down. You could lose everything you own there. What if it was what if you bought all your content on MySpace? Now what? Or you bought all your content on Facebook and that went down. All of these things have, they could potentially get shut down or go away. But how does that work out in your quote plan? What's the longevity of that? Are you going to get your money's worth? And like you buy something on iTunes, the chances are you're going to have that for a while and it's going to be almost like future proof. Whereas a 4K disc isn't future proof. It's finite. This is what it is. It's always going to be this. That's why it's physical media. It's never going to change. But streaming, it's always being updated, improved. So Todd, my buddy, Todd Anderson, AV Nirvana, don't bash on baseball movies. Well, I just want to know, is Bucky stealing home or is he going home to see mom? Come on. They never told me. They took it right off my streaming platform. I just made that up off the top of my head. Sorry. That's why I said home because it had to be baseball. I wish I could have made a hockey reference. Top shelf. Up where mama keeps the cookies. I don't know. Let's see. 10 years. I did a mad thing. Take. Oh my God, Eli, I did mad thing, take to trash all my DVDs 10 years ago, 4 bags of stuff. Yeah, I did that with I think I did that with DVDs. I did it with some tapes. I just dumped it like you're cleaning house and you don't have time. It's what you got to do. It's like, you're like, and you don't want to do it. I still have all of my Blu-rays. I still have all my 4Ks. And now I collect mostly on obviously Kaleidoscape. But yeah, it's I mean, there's you can look at the negative of anything like that stuff. It's anything is potentially obsolete. That's just the way it goes. And if you think you're buying something, anything, if you think you're buying it and it's 100% future proof, you're crazy. Been in this way too long to think that anything is future proof. So my thing is like, if you can get 5 years out of something, you did okay. That's to me, it's like if you have a product that's going to last you 5 years before it's obsolete, then I think you're doing all right. And I've bought stuff like I bought a receiver. I bought a Rotel receiver back in the early 2000s. I didn't get 5 years. I didn't even get a year out of it before I needed to get rid of it because I bought it thinking this was my quote end game. This was my plan. Here we go. Right back. I had a plan. I always wanted separates. How do you get separates? You're going through the 90s, seeing how great of an idea that is. This in research, this is why you need to have separate amplifiers, a single amplifier for every channel. You keep them separate so there's no crosstalk. It's going to be the cleanest possible sound. How do I do that? I can't afford a processor right now. If I couldn't afford the amplification. So how do I do that? Oh, get a receiver that can become a pre-pro, and then as you're doing, you go along, you buy your amplifiers, and then once you get all your amplifiers, you take your budget and then you put it into the. All right, great idea. This is what I did. And I'm like, I'm going Rotel. I've always wanted a Rotel. Get the Rotel. I got the Rotel and everything's all set. And I'm ready to start saving my money for my amplification. And this is going to be great. And they come out with HDMI. My Rotel is obsolete. Nothing I can do. Starting all over. Great plan, Deej. It's like, didn't see that one coming. Like, because how could you? I didn't see HDMI coming. And now when I'm saying HDMI was coming out, I'm not saying like I bought this and then I'm an idiot and woke up and the next day they came out with receivers with HDMI. I'm saying I bought this and then it was like, hey, this thing's coming out someday called HDMI. What? If I had known that, that's what I'm saying. If I had known that, I would not have bought it. And it wasn't like it was the next day. It was like months later, this stuff starts coming out. And it was that at that point, I'm like, this is an obsolete piece. I'm not saving my money anymore for amplification. I'm saving my money for a processor that has HDMI. And it took me years to do that. And by the time I had the money, I recouped that money. I got back into it and then was able to get a receiver that had HDMI. Great. Never got the amplification. That plan went right out the window. Because they invented something that didn't exist when I had my original plan. So now, do you quit home theater? Do you just go, I don't need HDMI. This is good enough. I got 5 channels. Why don't I just get amplification and do this? That might be all well and good, but all of a sudden, all the stuff that plays your content's going to start coming out with HDMI. And I'm going to sit there, knowing me, and knowing how I am, loving everything about like, I need to have the best possible. And I'm still putting in the RCA jacks in the back. Well, I guess, S-video is just as good as HDMI. That's okay. No, because then eventually they did away with all those connections. So you'd have to quit the hobby eventually. Let's see. And now they are talking about upgrading to a newer HDMI someday. They're just holding on. I guarantee they're just holding off on it. We're all going to get saturated. We're all like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, and it's going to they want to make money. That's how they're going to do it. Because that's what they did in the early 2000s. That's how they're going to do it. They're going to come out with something that it will not be backwards compatible. You're going to have to get all new gear. Everything. Your display is going to it's going to have to, the entire chain is going to run on this thing, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but that's how they're going to reinvent the market, get all our money again. But it's going to have to be good enough that we're all going to want to do it. And I think that's what they're working on. And I mean, I'm sure Todd could speak to this. People have talked about it. You've seen the new stuff coming out of Japan and stuff like that about the new HDMI that's going to do everything. It's better. It's more compatible. It's faster. It can do so much more. It gives you more possibilities. But everybody's going to have to get on board. All the companies will have to get on board. And then what happens if somebody else gets on board? Somebody else comes out with something different. everybody gets on board, and then Samsung comes out with something equal to it, kind of like, HDR and Dolby Vision and blah, 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 and all that crap. So how are they getting our money? What's the plan? So let's see. China. Okay, saying China. Okay, Japan, China. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. What else are people saying? The Gray, yeah. That is one in the queue. People talking about watching the Gray 4K later. Anyone see this 4K yet? I haven't seen it. I'm pretty sure Steve has seen it. I think it's in the queue for him. So it should be coming up. I bought it. It was an upgrade on Kaleidoscape. Speaking of which, it was an upgrade on Kaleidoscape, I think, for like $4. So I did upgrade it because I already owned it. I haven't watched it. I haven't seen it yet. So, SW saying Disney Plus in Germany does not offer Dolby Vision anymore because of a patent issue. Happy to have my physical collection. Yeah. If Dolby Vision's that important, I like Dolby Vision. It is pretty important. Let's see. Oh yeah. Here's another one. Eli saying, does anyone on board see any Dolby Vision 2? Has anybody seen it? I think is what he's asking. I don't know if anybody's seen it. I don't know if Todd has seen anything about it. I've heard a lot about it. I've heard things that it can possibly do. I haven't heard a lot about what Dolby Vision can do for us as end user, like visually, how much better it's going to be. I'm not saying it's not going to be. I just haven't heard what the big difference will be for us viewing wise. Like you have two displays next to each other. One's Dolby Vision, one's Dolby Vision 2. Are you going to see what is the visual difference you're going to see? The differences I have heard are more in the programming part of it. It being able to work with TVs. If you have it through the chain, it's going to be, it's going to be more like, what do they call it? Not collaborate. What do they call it? Artistic, whatever it is, like the cinema mode or whatever. It's going to give you a more of a, like all right, here's a version that I heard about. It's like, so when they're making these discs or whatever, or they're printing the discs, or the artist can put into Dolby Vision 2 the settings the TV should be at. Okay. And that way what the artist's intent shows up on the television. Meaning like, so if you really care what the artist intended, you can have that set on your TV that no matter what. So like, this is what your TV is going to be able to give you the best possible version of what the artist intended. So if you like to have it really bright and vibrant mode, it's going to go poink and it's going to change that for you. If your TV's set up that way. That was a version I said. Maybe Todd can say something in the chat to that. It was stuff like that I saw, that I thought that was interesting to me. So yeah, funny blind guy talking about Dolby Vision 2 has a dark mode and light mode. I don't know how he knows, but okay. He must have heard that somewhere because blind guy probably didn't read that somewhere, but okay. That's my blind guy joke for the week. Okay. So, and now I wonder if even Dolby Vision 2, do they do stuff with audio there too? Does that play through to Atmos? Like, okay, you like to run your subs hot. Can they do that? Can the artist say like, I want everything. This is how I want the room done. You've calibrated the room. This is what it is. Boom, boom, boom. And now I don't know. That would be an interesting one. I think it would be harder to do too, because audio is so much more subjective than video. It's like, this is what red's supposed to look like. And that's how the best possible version the TV can give you of that red. It's easier that's a little bit more objective than this is supposed to sound this way. Well, how do you know what I'm hearing? Let's see what else. But yeah, that would be, Dolby Vision 2, that's not something that's going to necessarily, though, do what HDMI did, right? That's not going to be something that we have to completely change everything that we have to get on board. And even like, and I'm not saying this stuff to scare people, because even when HDMI came out, it didn't like happen overnight, right? It's like I had a plan. That's why it actually fits with this topic today, because I had a plan. I had a dream. I had an unrealistic, like a dream of the future of where I had separates. And that dream was a 5-10 year plan. Well, that plan was literally, blown up by technology being invented, so it didn't change my day to day, because by the time I started reading about it, it didn't mean like my stuff was obsolete right away. And that never really happens. That's a lot of people say that when it comes to like, well, I'm buying physical media is forever and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden they'll be like afraid that physical media is going away. What are the companies doing? Why is this? I don't want to, maybe if I get into home theater, I'm afraid it's going to go away. Well, the only way home theater goes away is everybody's so afraid of it, they don't get into it. Because again, like I said earlier, we're home theater. It's not the gear. It's not the content. It's us. It's us buying the gear and buying the content. If we stop buying the gear and stop buying the content, that's how home theater goes away. As long as we're here, it'll be here. It might not be as affordable, because if the market shrinks, the prices are going to go up, because it still costs X amount to make the products, right? So you can make to make a widget, it costs you $100 to make said widget. You can either sell 100 of them at a $1 profit to make your money back, or you can sell 2 of them at $50. Either way, you've got to get your money back and make profit, right? So you've got to get back to that $100. How do you do that? And that's where the market comes into play. So if we all go away, then that's when home theater goes away. But other than that, it's like, it might become less affordable for you. So now you have to change your plan. I was thinking I wanted this. I want separates. Well, the market's changed and having separates is going to be more expensive. Oh, okay. Or I don't make as much now as I used to make. All of a sudden, my job has changed. I had to change jobs. I can't make as much. The market's still the same. My disposable income has changed. Have to change the plan. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have a plan. Doesn't mean you shouldn't dream. But if you adhere to the plan, what are you going to quit? No, you're going to adjust. You're going to adapt and overcome, right? What movie was that from? Let's see. So and like I said, like this stuff isn't going to happen overnight, right? Like HDMI didn't ruin home theater. It took years for that to change, and we did. And you barely miss a beat. If I wasn't in the middle of that upgrade and that idea and that plan, I probably wouldn't even have remembered when HDMI took place. I wouldn't remember all of that. I'd just be like, oh yeah, HDMI came out and then we eventually changed. I just happened to be in that spot at that time. So if 4K, if physical media goes away, everybody's afraid of it. Why? Because the only way it goes away is if something better comes out. So are you afraid that something better is going to come out? It's like we're already into this hobby, or whatever you want to call it, as enthusiasts, to not throwing money away, but there's not a lot of people here that are on, like broke, and they're like, I still got a theater. Well, I'm the one. I'm broke and I'm still running the theater, but we've got some disposable income here. So how do you manage that? What is your budget for that? Is it going to change? Is your budget going to include to be able to have the part of home theater you're in right now, right? Are you in the upper middle? Are you in the middle? Are you in the lower middle? Where are you? Are you just starting out with a sound bar? Where is your budget? How is that going to change in the future? What's the market going to dictate? Okay. You just gave away next week's show, Michael. So Michael in the chat, I could listen to DJ read the phone book. No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. Because if I'm just reading the phone book, something went seriously wrong. But thank you. Appreciate that. But anyways, the idea of it going away, physical media going away, something replacing it. One, it's going to take time. And two, it's going to be better. And we always want things to be better. That's the entire reason we're in this. That is the plan. That is, I think all of our plan is to dream big and do more. I mean, you got Todd in the chat, and he's got a giant, infrasonic. I think you still have it, don't you, Todd? The infrasonic, or did you send that back? The infrasonic subs, right? That was never in the plan 10 years, 15 years ago. It was, people just thinking outside the box. My idea, where's my idea? That's what I want to know. My plan. Where are the floor speakers? Where's the sound from down below? Okay. That's easy. You don't need a giant sub in the back of the room. You don't need to get down to 5 hertz. All I need are some speakers down below so that when, in Hunt for Red October, a sub goes under me, I want to feel it. I want to see it. I want to feel like it's going by me. I want to hear that. If I'm in my plane and it goes upside down and a plane flies over me, I want to know, or under me, I want to hear it under me. We could do over. There's no reason we can't do under. Over, under. That's an easy one. I think they're skipping it because it's just too easy. And I came up with it. Nobody wants to give in to some little guy in his basement talking home to, damn it all, if you hadn't said that, I was going to do it. Now it's going to look like it's his idea. That's what people are saying right now. Nowhere are people saying that. But that would sell more speakers, and speaker wire. Very important. Speaker wire. Just ask Monster Cable. But yeah, it's stuff like that is what drives us dreaming, wanting more, doing all of this stuff that, most people can't do. But if you have, have we answered the question? Is it a good idea or a bad idea? I think at the end of the day, it's neither. It's the balance of the two, right? And that's what it's all about. It's like everything. It's about the balance of like, here's your plan, but don't be so strict to adhere to it that it ruins the experience. And that's what, that's what this show's all about, the experience. So because if you stick to that plan so bad, your experience is going to be pulling your hair out, is going to be getting upset that, oh, that didn't sound right. That didn't look right. Or this could look so much better if I had more money. That's not true. It isn't true. It's like I said, after my first CEDIA, it's like, we are so close, meaning like, we're never going to get there ever. We're never going to get there with our budgets where we are. We're never going to get there, but we don't need to be there and here's the other part. And this is the ultimate part of thinking like this. We're never, ever going to get there because when we get there, they're not there. Meaning that $1 million theater, that theater that we sat in at CEDIA this year, right? So 1.5 million or whatever it is, sitting there and going, oh my God, the Christie, this, that, and the other thing, the Trinov, I think that room had Storm. Yeah, that room had a Storm audio, right? All of that stuff, great stuff. I want that stuff. I'm going to get there someday. Well, guess what? When you get there, they ain't there. They've advanced, right? So it's like we're always working towards a dream, knowing we're never, ever going to get there. To put that another way, you're always working towards tomorrow. You're never getting there. You work so hard. I got to do that. I want tomorrow to be better. This is going to be great. I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. You get there. It's today. Tomorrow's still a day away. So it's the same with our dreams. When you get there, your dream it's not there anymore. It's now the next piece, right? You think by the time I can afford that Christie projector and I save up all my money and I've got all this stuff and I go to buy that Christie projector, one, it's going to be cheaper. That's why I can buy it. Why is it cheaper? Because they've made a better one. Now I'm like, crap. And if your sole goal is to buy the best of the best that ever is, well, you did, but now you're not done. You have it for a little while if you're an early adopter. Great. Now you got it, but now they're going to make something else. So you're still not done. Because if your goal is to have the best of the best, then they don't want you to you're never having it because they're inventing other stuff. That's where it, that's evolution. That's everything. That's why we are who we are. That's people, humans. We're always looking for a better way. I said earlier, having that movie, I put that up there on purpose, and it's Oppenheimer for the audio only people. If you think about it, good night, Dom. Thanks, buddy. Good night, all. Great show, DJ. That's me. That's Dom speaking, not me. So I'm not hanging up. In Oppenheimer, think of that scene when he's literally like, "No, this isn't possible." They're like, "Well, I got news for you. We just did it in the next room. It's possible." So he had a plan. His plan was, it's impossible. We can't do this. One of the smartest minds of ever is sitting there saying, nope, physics says you can't do this. Okay, well, we just did it. Oh, and because they did it, and I can't, obviously, I'm not that smart to think of exactly what they were talking about, but they talk about like the fusion and everything. It's like the idea of the chain reaction. He didn't anticipate that if one goes out, the next, and how it works. So it's seeing something, telling me it's impossible, but then seeing after the fact, be like, oh, it can go that way. That's why this happens. It makes you see other things. Getting back to me and Chris, Chris Deering and I talking about that projector. It's like in September, he's saying it's not scalable. By November, literally 2 months later, it was whatever. Oh yeah, maybe someday. Well, that's all I was saying, right? But the way he spoke in September and explained to me the details and how it isn't scalable, it literally had me dejected. I had already done the live show from the floor. I'd already told all of you guys, this is the plan. This is going to be great. And everybody, we're going to have this somewhere 5-10 years away. And we're going to have black levels like this on our projectors. It's going to be great. Literally 15, 20 minutes later, I'm standing there and I'm like, hey, Chris, he's standing next to me. I'm like, oh, and he's like, what's the best thing you've seen today? I told him about the Christie. And I told him exactly what I told you guys on my live show. I was like, I just told everybody. And he goes, no, that's not possible. I was like, oh yeah, but what about if they do that? And he goes, nope. And then he explained it to me, actually changed my mind, told me, no, it can't be done. It's impossible. All right. Gave me all the details as to why. He's a very, very smart man. Genius. Very smart man. Designed sound for submarines for the military. That's how smart he is, okay? Military doesn't hire dumb people to disguise their subs underwater. That's how smart he is. Told me, changed my mind. I'm like, all right, I trust you. 2 months later, well, yeah, maybe someday they could do this. Oh my God. So, like he had an idea, had a plan, this, that, and the other thing. It's you never know what's going to happen. So you have a plan. Don't get too married to that plan. You never know. Let's see. Oh, we're talking baseball in the chat here. Okay. Now, yeah, see, Todd, you've commandeered my whole chat. We're talking Orioles. Yeah, how'd they do last year, buddy? And there goes Todd. The whole friendship, everything. Iron Eagle, gone. Somebody mentioned it was Todd. What are you doing? He's like, but the Bruins, what about them? What'd they do now? Todd, but the Bruins, what about them? They're doing okay now. I don't know. Did something happen that I don't know about? Everybody's on a break for the Olympics. So yeah. All right, let me see. What else do we got? I'll wrap up from here because it's been a long. It's hard to just keep on talking because you don't get it. I can't even take a sip of water because you just got to keep going. At least back when I used to do these by myself recorded, you'd stop and then edit out the gap. I can't do that live. Let me see. In the 25-hour show, I have other people to talk to, so I could take a sip. I can do that. Let's see. Oh, geez, Eli. I'm sorry to all for my so dumb writing, but this keyboard are in Spanish. Okay. Well, I'm not upset. Did somebody say something to Eli? Don't make me go on a rant. Michael saying I think the Bruins talk was meant for him. Let's see. Let's see. Jay Van Gool, he's got the Colorado Rocky. Okay, we're into baseball here. So, anything else? What else do we got? Let me see if I can find some other tangent before we get going here. Yeah. Okay, this is Michael. So I don't think you remember, DJ. I did Take Over Tuesday with you back in August of 22. I'm the Bruins fan guy. Do you remember? Got it. All right. Yes. Vaguely. Sorry, but I do remember. But yes, they do blend together, and it's like, oh, okay. Sorry, but that is scary. It bothers me. I am not good with names. I'm not good with faces and stuff like that. And never mind texts. Let's see. What else do we got? So, all right. I think we will wrap up from here. Todd, thanks for dropping in. Nice to see you, buddy. Haven't talked to you in a while. Well, no, we've been chatting about, what did we chat about the other stuff that you sent? Yeah, you sent some pretty funny stuff recently. So anyways, we'll keep that to what it is now. Everybody's wondering. Let's see. What else we got? Anything? What do we get? What is that? Oh, Paul? What is it? That's something different in the chat. Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll wrap up from here because I got to get this produced and get it out for tomorrow morning for the audio only. So see, got to do all that. But yes, everybody, thank you. Everybody in the chat. This has been a blast. Keeping the chat lively, keeping me going. Honestly, this is one of those things that, like, this show went on today. For people that didn't like this show, well, blame the listeners. Because this show never would have happened if I didn't trust the listeners and I didn't trust everybody here in the chat. Just to give you a little bit of, behind the scenes, you do something like this to sit down here and you say to people, like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to talk to the chat and I'm going to make, some comments and do that. And if nobody shows up, it's very defeating. It's very scary. It's one thing to have stage fright, right? And it's like, everybody's afraid of public speaking. It's a completely different fear and a different animal to be like, I'm going to be a public speaker and tell everybody I'm going to do this. And then nobody shows up. And that's scary because it's like, you're like, oh, great. All right. Crickets. All right. Let's see. So doing this live, it was only possible because of the listeners, the chat. And even the listeners on, the audio only people that aren't participating today, but I know you're there and that's why I do it. I do all of this. So thank you to everybody. Thanks to the whole community. I'm not going to thank Steve for sitting out because I could have done it with him. That would have been great. I'm just kidding. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to, thanks to all the patrons, all the support. Anybody who wants to support the show monetarily, patreon.com/BrightSideHomeTheater. Be great if you did. A minimum of $1 a month is up to infinity. That would be great. But the best way is to, tell a friend, as they say on hashtag, tell a friend, tell a dork, tell a nerd, tell somebody about Brightside Home Theater. Then maybe they're the millionaire that wants to donate, $10,000 a month. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Cause then I don't think Steve would ever miss a show. So yes. All right. Thank you very much. That will do it for this week. Let me see. Where is it? Oh, there we are. All right. Until next week, Steve and I will be back with all of our home theater experiences from the last week and a half. Now it'll be 2 weeks by then. But until then, you know what you got to do.
Go push play. What he said.
That's right. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Fred.
This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.